Football has always evolved, from rigid formations and pure specialists to fluid systems and hybrid players. But somewhere along the way, one role quietly started to disappear: the traditional midfielder. The one who dictates rhythm, controls the game, and makes everything look effortless. Today, that player is almost extinct. Look around Europe's elite clubs and you'll notice something striking. The midfielders who dominate the modern game aren't the slow, tempo-setting maestros of the past. They're explosive, multifunctional, and built to survive in chaos. The modern game doesn't reward control anymore. It rewards adaptability, athleticism, and moments of disruption.
Control used to mean slowing things down. Now control means keeping up, surviving in a system that never stops moving.
Once upon a time, a player like Xavi, Busquets, or Modrić was the heartbeat of a team. Their job wasn't about goals or assists. It was about control, dictating where the ball went, when it moved, and how fast it flowed. Everything revolved around them. Football was like a symphony, and they were the conductors holding everything in balance.
They didn't run the game with speed, they ran it with time. That's the power of rhythm in football.
But football doesn't revolve anymore. It transitions. Modern football is about moments, not control. You don't dominate for 90 minutes anymore. You dominate for 5, maybe 10, and you have to make them count. Games move faster, pressing systems are relentless, and no one has time to pause and dictate.
The midfield isn't a metronome anymore. It's an engine. Efficiency beats elegance now.
Now, it's not about controlling the tempo. It's about controlling the chaos. The modern midfielder has evolved into something else entirely, a hybrid of roles that didn't even exist 10 years ago. Take Jude Bellingham. He's not a 6, not an 8, not a 10. He's everything. Real Madrid don't need him to control games. They need him to break them open, to make chaos work in their favor. He's the trigger for transitions, the finisher in the box, the presser in defense. When others panic, he thrives. He's not trying to stop the storm, he's part of it.
Bellingham doesn't organize space, he destroys it. That's modern control, creating order from chaos.
At Barcelona, Pedri and De Jong still offer control, but they do it differently. Not by slowing the game down like Xavi once did, but by adapting to a system that's constantly moving. Barca's high-line positional football demands energy, recovery runs, and intelligence in tight spaces. Their control now comes through movement, not stillness. Pedri keeps the rhythm not by holding the ball, but by keeping it alive.
They turn control into motion. It's not patience, it's precision at full speed.
Players like Vitinha, Gravenberch, or Enzo Fernandez represent a generation forced to adapt to systems that change every month. One week they're creators, the next they're destroyers. One game they sit deep and recycle, the next they're bombing forward. They're the product of a football world that doesn't stand still. In today's game, specialists die, survivors thrive.
The new midfielder isn't trained to master a role, he's trained to survive one.
The traditional number 8 was once the link between defense and attack. Now that space is compressed, constantly pressed, and almost impossible to own. Teams like Liverpool and City don't control it, they bypass it. With inverted fullbacks, box midfields, and flexible pivots, control has shifted from midfielders to entire tactical structures.
Pep and Klopp didn't just change football's pace, they changed its geometry. Control is now collective, not personal.
And that's the key difference. In the past, individuals were the system. Now, systems define the individual. Pep Guardiola replaced the deep playmaker with structure. Klopp replaced rhythm with intensity. Even national teams have followed suit. Look at England, France, or Spain. Every midfielder is now part athlete, part tactician, part risk-taker. So what happens to the traditional controller? The answer is simple. They either evolve or disappear. Luka Modrić, at nearly 40, still controls games, but even he's had to adapt. He doesn't just sit deep and recycle possession anymore. He sprints, presses, and carries the ball forward, things his role never required in 2016. Because football no longer waits for control, it punishes it.
Adaptation isn't an option anymore, it's survival. Modrić evolved to stay relevant in a game that punishes hesitation.
You can't just slow a game down anymore. If you do, you lose it. Modern football rewards the players who keep the storm moving, not the ones who try to stop it. And this shift has created a new type of chaos midfielder. Players like Bellingham, Xavi, Vitinha, Barella, and Szoboszlai. They don't dominate with passes. They dominate with momentum. They don't set the rhythm. They break it.
Momentum is the new control. Speed is the new intelligence.
The irony is that the very thing football used to value most, patience, is now its biggest weakness. The best teams today aren't the ones that wait for openings. They're the ones that create them in an instant. The midfield isn't a place to slow the game. It's where you accelerate it. In the next 5 years, the classic playmaker may exist only in nostalgia. Kids won't dream of being the next Xavi or Pirlo. They'll dream of being the next Bellingham or Foden, because football's rhythm no longer comes from one man's mind. It comes from 11 players sprinting in sync.
And that's the truth. Football didn't kill the midfielder, it reinvented him.
The traditional midfielder isn't dead because he failed. He's gone because football evolved beyond him. The game that once revolved around control now revolves around chaos, speed, and adaptability. So maybe it's not the death of the midfielder. Maybe it's his rebirth in a game that never stops moving. The midfield used to be where football breathed. Now it's where football explodes. Thanks for watching, and let me know in the comments. Do you miss the old school controller, or do you love this new era of chaos?